Hey, everybody. It's episode 30 of Soulmates and Suitcases. Here's my beautiful wife, Lisa Brearley. Another bonus today. It's our third anniversary. And
Right on.
also, it's Germana Rovinelli.
Really?
Germana, here she is.
Oh, yay.
And it's also Germana's birthday.
It
Yeah,
is. Yeah.
lots to celebrate, and you will enjoy our conversation. So hang around for the next, I don't know, close to 40 minutes, I would say.
Thank you so much for having me. So great. It's so nice to see you happy, and it's so nice to see you with this beautiful, vital, energizing, beautiful spirit.
Yeah.
Lisa, I don't really know you, but I see parts of, your energy and some of the stuff you share. And I'm like, it's actually looks like a miracle to me. That's really cool.
I don't really believe in miracles, but I think it's a miracle too, because
Mhm.
it's like,
Well, something had to change. And sometimes when you meet
Yeah.
somebody who can meet you as a equal and as a best friend and as someone you can lean on, you grow, you heal. Because people need people, right? But you can't have people that are destabilizing and inconsistent, unethical, dishonest, moody, and cruel. Like we're all going to have moments where we granulate and we're not doing well. But I think you do well when you have somebody that allows you to just be you
yeah.
instead of going to character.
Well, and then the other thing, a lot of the girls that, like for me in the past, I would date women that had trauma issues.
Of course you did,
So
because you did too. You'd
of
match.
course, when I got loud, it would trigger them.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying, and you wouldn't get the support where with Lisa, if I get frustrated and angry, she doesn't get scared and timid and push her away. She doesn't like it. That's not what I'm saying, but
No.
We actually I realized when I was first started having kids, I thought this like long time ago, 7 years ago, I thought I'm going to end up having a special needs child because I'm a very patient person, right? I thought I'm
Wow.
going to end up having, and I'm not comparing this to Scott, but I used to think I have like I'm a teacher of like kindergarten, grade one. I'm like, oh, I'm very patient. I never knew patience until I met Scott.
Yep.
But it was worth all my patience. Like
Of course.
he knows that when I first met him, like I saw this person that deserved, and I could feel this in my heart of hearts, deserved to be heard.
Mm.
And I knew he had a big heart when I first met him.
Hmm.
And yeah, kind of went from there. But yeah, patience. Wow.
and for me, one of my biggest things now is invest in yourself. And
Mm.
why stop?
I know.
Do you like why stop investing or why stop with just the big book or why stop with just the Bible? Why stop with,
Why breadcrumb yourself?
yeah.
This is a giant smorgasbord, and a lot of
Oh,
people are starving to death because they're not willing to like have the joy of what does it feel like when I do this and how does this enhance my ability to look at the world differently, which now you're in a different world, right?
yeah.
I mean, I've put so much effort in my own process granularly day after day for years that, I don't think I'm probably easy to understand by for a lot of people because I don't speak at the same level. Like I'm on a different channel, but I've worked to get to that channel. When I'm at the different channel that's not happy, I don't want to be there either. And I
Hmm.
can drop back and forth, but like I think that, it's a gift of love that we give to ourselves. It's a gift of compassion. It's so important. And and some people will have courage to do some of their own work when they see somebody else being willing to cross over that bridge. And sure, there's maybe some, trolls on the way, but there's also some gold, and
Yeah.
I mean, I'm super big on personal self-care and personal development. And I think that's one of the reasons that that I'm as well as I am, whatever that means. But I've also had people, shun me and act like I'm, on my horse and I think I'm great. And I'm like, excuse me? No, no, no. I worked for all of this. None of this was given to me. This is a garden that I cultivated and I created. It's called my relationship with myself and my creator and whatever, right? But I've had the odd person unfortunately, um, either they're intimidated or they're threatened or whatever. And I'm like, celebrate it because you could be me one day, or you could be inspired by me one day. And,
Yeah.
and if you've dragged your face around behind a truck, for a long time and you've been beat up, then pull yourself out of that position and start to go, what do I need? What do I need? What does my body need? And listen to that. And what does my spirit need? I think most people that are hurting is they're so disconnected from their spirit because their mind is controlling it, right? The mind is what creates most of our suffering, as far as I'm concerned.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because technically when you say when you have a certain thought, you can have the opposite thought as well. So, I mean, you can choose what you want to put meaning to, what you want it to be.
Mhm.
So,
I don't know, I almost disagree with that because I know in the depths of my misery when I didn't have a choice. Like I was working on, however, though, when I was given an opportunity to get some different tools,
Yeah.
mhm.
then the door opened. However, I was so closed-minded because it's like, well, you just haven't done the steps right. That's what I got told several times. You just haven't done them with me. And it's like, I've been around here longer than you, and you're telling me that I haven't done them right.
Well, I also think one of the things that happens is our subconscious mind has a comfort zone, it's a script, and that's how we look at the world. And if we look
Yeah.
at the world like we're not safe, we can't trust ourselves, we can't trust the world, we can't trust anything, that doesn't just come off because you did a few steps.
No.
And it does not, because that's how you protect yourself. And even if that worldview isn't true, that part of you is running the show.
Yeah.
It's controlling the steering wheel, no matter what you say, unless you can convince yourself that you're safe. But most people that come from trauma, they live their whole life in defense or offense. And anything that comes close where they get maybe a little bit of nurturing, maybe a little bit of possibility of being cared for, they get the gasoline out and light it on fire because it's so threatening to lose it again, to be
Mm.
the bad person again, to be that so-called loser again, to be the one that fucked it up again. There's so much shame behind that. And that's the piece that for me is like if a person can move past the the front seat and go, what's under the hood here? What has this person been taught to believe? And heal that relationship with them, with their little boy or their little girl.
Mm.
You give them huge freedom. But yeah, I mean, I would have guessed when I was aware of, the anger that was you were carrying was that you were definitely a very angry, hurt, untrusting man.
Hmm.
I saw that because I have that too.
Yeah.
I totally have that too. And you just had it a little bit more spikes, right? But I'm like, I know what that feels like.
Yeah, I was reading,
Unfiltered.
yeah, I was reading the back of your book and I'm like, I said to Scott, like, your description in the back of the book is pretty much the same, only a different story, but same theme.
Yeah.
And so your books are very similar. So, and you include in your book your kind of aha moment of attachment styles. Maybe can you tell us a little bit more about that as well?
Well, and the attachment style is a processor, it's a labeling process to like there's four different attachment styles. Secure means is someone who was raised in a family where they were seen, attuned to, heard, they were taught how to do conflict resolution, they were taught how to get their needs met. They were safe, they were valued. I mean, so that's, those are people who usually don't end up with a lot of divorces.
Hmm.
Then there's anxious, preoccupied, which is someone who is constantly trying to fuse to their person or their partner and to give and give and give and give and give and have no boundaries or no self. So they get their needs met by caring for other people and they actually have no self. They don't know what's good for them, but they know what's good for everybody else. These are all wounds. These are all how they've learned to feel safe in relationships, and it comes from our childhood. Then you've got a dismissive avoidant, which is someone who um, doesn't trust falling in love. In fact, falling in love can be like being murdered because they're so unconsciously aware that they will be, they don't know how to trust or feel safe in a relationship. So the moment that person gets feelings for somebody, they'll disappear, they'll ghost, they'll breadcrumb, they'll disappear, they'll come back a little bit, but they have so much shame and self-hatred, and they think they're so flawed that they run because they assume the other person will see that they're flawed or defective or damaged. And so they will exit somewhere in that relationship. They'll come back and forth, but usually the relationship doesn't sustain it. And then there's the real winner, the fearful avoidant or the disorganized, which is both of those styles. It's the it's the disorganized and the anxious preoccupied. And I'm a fearful avoidant. I'm a healed, secure, fearful avoidant, but like I was afraid of everything and I avoided people all the time. And I would want to be close and then I would have this anxiety and I would try to manage and modulate. And when I understood it, I just had nothing but compassion for myself because I thought, and all I could think is, you poor thing. Because when I figured that out, I think it was 54, maybe. And then all I wanted to do was learn how to be secure. Like, what does that mean? That means I'm allowed to be me, I'm allowed to make mistakes. I'm allowed to say sorry without feeling like I'm a problem or that I'm a mistake, right? Like,
Yeah.
and that to ask for what I need and want and to ask for what, what can we do together to make me feel better? Like to actually ask for someone to help me. I mean, the first time I learned how to do that, I thought I was going to disintegrate under the carpet. I just melted and I was so
Mm.
terrified that I would be thrown out. So, and all of those emotions are subconscious. All of those defense mechanisms are subconscious. And what happens if someone understands what their attachment style is and then starts to do some of their deprogramming work,
Mhm.
then you'll see the softer, gentler, kinder, fun-loving, able to take on the world and help other people without making up a story about, that people are assholes or people are this or that. Because what I've learned is most of what we tell ourselves is a painful story. And when we keep telling ourselves that story, we suffer. And that's where all of the anger and the rage comes from. Because we're suffering. And then we'll have these needs that we're not getting met, but we don't know what those needs are because we don't have a self, because we're a servant to other people who don't love us, won't protect us, but we have nowhere else to go. Right? You think about that. And so
Cool.
then we're not getting our needs met. So then we're getting them met negatively.
Yep.
If I have a crisis, if I have this blowout and I burn everything down, at least I know I have significance. And this is my way of having novelty, which is one of our basic needs. And it's also a way to feel safe because now I know who's in control, right? And when you find out what your dominant personality style, your subconscious dominant personality style's strongest need is, that shows you the deepest wound. And like for me, I found out, like I was so surprised. Um, like my house is paid for, my motorcycle's paid for, my car is paid for. I just pay a lot of taxes and pay for my cell phone and food, right? I buy good food. But I remember going, what's the motive behind all my behavior? It's trying to feel safe. My subconscious couldn't accept that I'm safe. So I was like this jumpy, hypervigilant person, right? And it's really hard to be in a relationship with someone when you don't feel safe.
Yep.
And the safety was also with me. Like, remember, I went to a therapist. He goes, well, you've been taught not to trust the world. He goes, you raised yourself. I'm like, right. And he goes, you've been taught not to trust life. And so then I needed to learn, what does that look like if I could let myself relearn that? And that's the pathway to earn secure, right? And earn secure just means you know how to do really good relationships. You know how to take care of yourself, get your needs met, not throw yourself under the bus, support other people without being jealous because your buckets are full. Like I got no love and I'm going to be really happy for you. No. So the inner child just goes, "Yeah," and then starts to create these problems. And the part of us that our subconscious mind really is our inner child. The body and the subconscious are the same. It's the same. And so like for someone that I got into wanting to understand that because I wanted to understand how to untie the knots that I had inherited. I have this joke. I said what I inherited from my family was a $250,000 therapy bill. Because
And that's so cute
I can
too.
relate.
yeah. Well, my parents were both mentally ill. My dad was a psychopath. I was almost strangled to death twice in the high chair before I was 2.
Wow.
Yeah. And then if I cried and if I couldn't stop crying, they would drown us in the sink, in the kitchen sink. So he was he was a genius. He was definitely a psychopath, but he was spoke 7 languages fluently, and he would make me sit down at the kitchen table and learn, and he would have these flashcards, and it was age inappropriate information. And if I couldn't process it, which I could not, then he would beat me, and then he would bring out the dictionary, and this is what the word means, and I didn't understand what those words mean, so I just go into like not breathing, and then I'd get beat and then drowned in the sink. So if you think I did well at school, I would have all those emotions would come back. I'm going to get beat. I'm going to make a mistake. I don't know what I don't know what I don't know. So I was really unfortunately programmed to I'm surprised I lived past 23. And that was around the time that I was able to find some of these, the 12-step model, right? But I had no idea how damaged I was. And I really didn't understand it until I started to really do the family of origin stuff. I did a bunch of ACA step work, which was powerful. And then the other piece was also the attachment piece. Like that was the aha. And then I could sit with someone, I could feel what they were. They didn't have to tell me, I could just feel their energy. Oh, we got an anxious one over here. And anytime I'm dating, which is not fun, please pray for me. So please pray for me. And anytime I met anyone that was anxious, preoccupied, they would smother me with their anxiety. They would overcompensate. Oh, you're so beautiful. And I was like, oh my God, I just met you. Right. And I was like, my stomach would go, "Ugh," and I would just feel nauseous because it wasn't love and it wasn't security. It was enmeshment. I must fuse with you. And if I fuse with you and I feed you all this love, you will love me back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Offensive.
Yeah, really hard. Now, your whole journey you've documented in your book,
Mhm,
correct? Right?
mhm.
Where did the whole hypnotherapy and energy healer, all that come into play in regards to when your book came out?
I've been doing hypnotherapy since my son was about 2, so he's 33. And I had been introduced to it, like you might have heard of the woman named Louise Hay,
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
right? When
awesome.
I was young, I was 16, I found her book, You Can Heal Your Life, and it's got the beautiful hearts on it. And I was like, oh, the beautiful hearts, and I like the language. And sure, I want to heal my life. I don't know how fucked up it is, but here I go. And I bought that book. And I was really aware in the back it said you have this physical problem and the subconscious root cause is this. And this is the subconscious message that if you give the subconscious that message, the body will heal. That's the whole model. And I was like, subconscious, how the hell do you ever get into that? And the book went away and off I went and continued to destroy my life and, pick men that would almost beat me to death. I mean, good for me, right? Just like daddy. And when I was actually training in martial arts with a man named Han Lee in Richmond Gung Fu, and he was Bruce Lee's second cousin, believe it or not. And I would go in the ring and I would fight, and I was one of his girls, right? And one day he took the whole school. It was the most beautiful martial arts school I'd ever seen in my life to a ravine show. He paid for all of us, and I'm like, wow, I
Hypnotist.
belong somewhere because I didn't feel like I belonged anywhere. I felt like a floating can in the water, like I had no value or meaning, which is why I was over functioning, trying to feel like I matter. Um, and so we went into the show. I watched, and he's bringing people up to see who's a natural somnambulist. So a natural somnambulist is the one that becomes the show. 1 out of 13 is a natural somnambulist. So he's giving all these people these tests, and I'm like, I'm staying in my chair. But the two top students, they're his teachers, Han Lee's teachers, became part of the show. And so he brings them, I think, to the year 1990, all these people. He's got about 10 or 11 of them on the stage. And he's bringing them all to 1990. And the two head students that were my sparring partners are doing forms, gung fu forms. There's a woman beside them, and he asks her, "What are you doing?" And she goes, "I'm embezzling money." So this tells you what her agenda is. Her subconscious motive is to rob whatever company she's working with. So he goes down the line, and while this is happening, my brain, I'm getting this image in the corner of my eye. It's not in front, it's to the side. I'm seeing this picture of me doing this warm up that I used to do when I was taught by a group called the fitness group. When I was teaching fitness, I started teaching fitness when I was 18. And so my subconscious is showing me doing this warm up. And I'm knowing you're not supposed to stay at the school. You're supposed to go, get away from these people. So I knew that intuitively. That was like the message, bang. So I left the school, but the woman that was embezzling money was an accountant. Like he takes them all out of trance. What do you do for, and I don't remember anything. And he gives them a ticket for their next show because they paid for a ticket that they didn't get to see the show. They became the show. So, right. So I was like, whoa. And all I knew is that I was being told on some level, keep teaching these dance classes, these fitness classes, and get away from the school. Because I mean, I'm not pretty, but I'm not, you take too many hits, you get cauliflower ears, and stuff just looks kind of weird after a while. It's not good for the whole feminine thing. So, so, um, my addiction burned out really hard. And then I ended up coming back to Victoria. I married a man who almost beat me to death. And then I decided I should get some help. I should stop putting anything in my body that makes me magnetized to really dangerous people that I think is chemistry. So this is an example of trauma. When you think that something that it's exciting is chemistry when it's danger, but you've not been taught to know when you're in danger because your parents were dangerous. I mean, you get how we get those wires crossed. So anyway, long story short, I'll try to go fast. Um, I got pregnant because good for me, no boundaries. And I moved up to Nanaimo, and I was working in one of these fitness centers, teaching classes and doing some strength training back when there was just strength training. There was no such thing as a personal trainer yet. It hadn't been created by the world yet. And one of my coworkers who was a kind of an uppity, snotty, thinking she's better than, I'm sure people think that of me too. I'm sorry, it could happen. But she says, I'm doing this hypnosis course and I'd like to give you a free session. And I'm like, oh, that'd be cool. And you got to remember, I'm a single mother trying to get off of welfare teaching fitness classes. I'm broke and I'm sore. Everything hurts. So she gives me this session and she puts me into such a deep state of trance. Like she used what's called as a arm levitation induction, where the arm smokes you in the head and it drops and you're gone. Bang. And because I'd been beat so badly, that was a trauma trigger too. I'm like, now I don't trust you. But I went so deep that I just started grinning. And she goes, why are you smiling? I said, I'll never do drugs again. This feels so amazing. The euphoria was so great. I thought I will never need to do drugs. This is free drugs. This is amazing. And then she says something to me. She goes, and you will come to me 3 times a week for the next 3 weeks. Well, now, totally unethical. And she thought that I would just follow along like a penguin. And I thought, you're a slimy bag of dirt. And, she was trying to either stack her appointment book, but I couldn't have afforded that. And I wouldn't have taken free sessions 3 times a week from anybody. It would just feel dirty. So I never went back, but I loved the feeling. That feeling was so incredible. And I'm very kinesthetic. So I can pick up feeling fast. And so then I went bouncing around looking at teachers and people who, first I went to different therapists and I said, here I am, I'm a hot mess. Let's see what you got. And that was how I picked my school. Right? Because a lot of the people that are trained are poorly trained. And it's not that they're bad, but you're only going to know what you've been exposed to. And eventually I was introduced to something called the Canadian Hypnosis Association. And they had a tiered system. You're a resident for like a year and a half, then you become a clinical. That might take you 3 or 4 years, then certified clinical. And I went through that process. I actually had my own school to teach people how to become hypnotherapists. And then the government decided they wanted to oversee what I was teaching. Well, 5 years before COVID, I believe. And so if I didn't submit what they wanted, they were going to fine me $100,000. Because you got to remember what you're doing is you're teaching people how to think for themselves. Government doesn't want that. We want sheeple. We don't want people that can actually use their brain. So I just let it go. You can relate, obviously. I let it go and I let the school part go and I just kept doing the work on the side. And if you're good at it, you don't keep your clients.
Yeah.
Right? Like one of my teachers, and she passed away, but she taught me how to do like precision laser regression therapy. You have someone come in for XYZ problem, and she could usually get that cleaned up in one session, just like that.
Wow.
Yeah. She would
So,
link you to where the wound came from.
so can like you mentioned Ravine, and that's the
I
only sort
know.
of hypnotherapy thing, hypnosis or whatever I can think of. So what can you explain to the layman, to the listeners, um, what is really happening to the brain, or what is really happening to your mind or your thoughts during one of the hypnotic sessions?
On a stage?
No.
No, with you.
Oh, well, I think like ultimate, you have to have rapport with the person. They need to feel safe. And once you do that, then what I do with the person is I help them regulate their nervous system so they feel safe in their own body. And the mind gets quiet, quiet, quiet. And then you can track inside to help plant new seeds, new relationships with themselves, how they cope, how they do life, how they see themselves to sort of remove obstacles from their true self, their authentic self.
Mm.
And I usually do, I call them warm fuzzy sessions for a while. And then I go, now do you want to get rid of this trauma or this issue? And I've earned their trust at that point. I'm not violating them. I've gone to therapists that just laser you right into it. And you come out traumatized more
Mm.
because they're pulling something out of you that your subconscious is buried that's creating this whole ripple effect. So I'll give you an example of something that happened, I don't know, maybe last year or the year before. This man shows up. He's the same personality style as both Scott and I, like hands down,
Mm.
take no prisoners type. And his wife sent him to me because I'd worked with her, I don't know how many years, and he was a retired captain. He ran the BC ferries here, and he was very bang, bang, bang. This is the way it is type of guy. And I'm looking at him and I'm reading it immediately. And he goes, well, I need help. I can't stop thinking about what happened to me when I was a little boy. And unfortunately, he was um, encouraged by his family that was poor to become a soccer star. I think he was in England, and it's a big deal there. And they were very poor, and his father had died. There was a lot of loss. So this kid was basically becoming the new surrogate father, which is abuse. And his soccer coach was a pedo. He's a pedophile. So this poor guy was put through this process as a very young man, young boy, managed to get away from it, but he was haunted by the emotions and he was haunted by the memories and he was haunted by all of it. He had bits and pieces and his subconscious was constantly spiking. And by the time he's sitting in my chair, I think he's 62. He's had done no therapy at all.
Mm.
So I'm like, well, give me 8 sessions to let me do my job. So, I slowly built up his relationship to see that there's a part of him that's innocent and beautiful and sweet, and that he could learn to listen to that part of him and, just make it a new conversation versus I'm a disgusting man that, this terrible thing happened, I'm dirty. Because that would be the narrative, right? Underneath that, I'm dirty. And then one day he comes in and he was a little bit prickly with me. I said, so I think today's the day that we're going to see if we can clean up this mess that you've been carrying. And so I did regression therapy. I said, take us to the root cause of this emotional problem, to the first event, which, when disconnected, would allow all the emotions, the feelings, the pain to go away. Bang. Person goes, flies over top. And then they become the private investigator, and I loop them through the emotions one at a time and heal that little boy one at a time, and then kiss that little boy one at a time. And at the end, I asked him to ask his little boy what the little boy decided, and the little boy believed that it was his fault.
Mm.
That's where all the shame came from,
Bingo.
right?
Mm.
And then I said to him, I said, you were lucky this man didn't murder you because this was a professional pedophile. He knew exactly what he was doing. So I needed to let him know that the little boy was actually helpless and that it wasn't his fault. And he was just an innocent little boy that got taken advantage of by this evil man. And then I said, now, can that little boy let go of those decisions? And then, and will the little boy let that go now that you're here for him? And of course he did. And he wanted that. So I had him bring himself back up. And then before the event ever happened, it's a type of timeline therapy that rewires the whole system. So then I brought him back and he was still deep in trance and he goes, I can't fucking believe it. That was the most amazing thing of my life I've ever gone through. And he looked at me and goes, I'm going to need 3 weeks to process that. I said, okay, I'll see you in 3 weeks.
Wow.
And then he says to me, that was the most wonderful 3 weeks of my fucking life. And then I said, well, I'll see you after the summertime because I think he was taking one of these ships out to somewhere in some other part of the world. He was like that kind of a captain. And he came back and he was just a completely changed man. He gave me this beautiful testimonial for my website or Google review. But he came in, I can't fucking sleep. I'm fucking gutting people off. I'm fighting with every one of my kid and da 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 da, right? And he left a very powerful, strong, grounded, compassionate with himself man because he let go of the decision that somehow he was responsible for what happened to him. And I mean, you could take someone and you could put them through 5 years, 3 years of talk therapy, and you'd never get to it because
No.
you're just managing the blackberry bush. You're trimming it. Oh, is it pretty? Let's put a ribbon on it. And Christmas time, we put some Christmas bulbs on it. And I mean, I've done all that. I did all that. And I was like, I need to get rid of the feeling underneath there because it makes me crazy. And yeah, that was one example. But I mean, it's very powerful. And I always wait until the client is emotionally, and that sounds dumb, but emotionally strong enough to have the review because sometimes it's grief, it's betrayal, it's loss, and often they have no memory, but there it is. Like I'll tell you one more story. I probably got a ton of stories, but I had a massage therapist send me this woman who was very square. I called her a square John. She was like a social worker type. Squares are boring, right? But she she had so much tension in her shoulders. And she believed that it was her fault if people were suffering. So the massage therapist says, I can't help you anymore, sends her to me. And she didn't want to do any hypnosis. So we do a lot of tea visits and talking, about 16 of them. And then I start to do the warm, fuzzy thing. So I got some rapport. Huh. And while we're talking, she splurted it out and she says, that she was bad and that she made her parents suffer and that's why she carries all this grief, blah blah blah. And she married a man who was sexually inappropriate and was having affairs and treating her like a doormat, so she was used to being, so the guilt that she had, she was letting other people bring them in so they would abuse her in the way that she was mentally and emotionally abusing herself. So you bring in these people that are volunteers to help you feel like shit. So anyway, one day I said to her, I said, well, do you think maybe today we'll find out what the root cause of this pain you carry in your shoulders and your upper chest? And she goes, sure. And I said, okay, because now I've got rapport. She trusts me. She trusts herself. I'm not going to get this. It's going to be a hot knife through butter. So I asked her subconscious mind to take us to the root cause of the problem before, during, or after her birth. And it's before her birth. And it's when her mother is telling the to be father that she's pregnant. And she is doing this in a coffee shop. And they both start wailing because they don't want to be pregnant. And she's not welcomed and she's not wanted. And she's got this vibration and this energy that she is responsible for their suffering. And therefore, she must punish herself for the burden she's brought into their life. This is fascinating, right?
Very.
And then I had her weave through the emotions and I said, no one's ready for their baby, but they didn't get rid of you. They kept you, didn't they? Yes. I think that they love you. Can you see that? Yes. And so then we weaved her through the end and she let go of this rigid belief that she was responsible for their suffering. I said, they could have terminated you and they didn't. You look like you're here to me. So just give her a different story and then pull her out. She looks at me and she's like, oh, can't even believe that. So she goes home and I think she either phones her family, her mother or father, or she goes to see them in person. And she asks them, did this happen when you were so many weeks pregnant with me? And they both start sobbing hysterically. Ah, well, we wanted you and we're so sorry. And how did you find out?
Wow.
She divorced her husband. She quit her job at Costco. She was working at Costco and she became a hypnotherapist.
Oh
Because it
my
changed her
God.
life. She'd been chasing this thing, this mirage of trying to get better and using, physical this, physical that, when it was her subconscious mind holding her down for probably 10 or 15 years, if not more. And for me, what drew me to it was I just wanted relief from my own suffering. And when I saw how effective it was for me, I'm like, there is no shortage of wounded humans out here. And traditional talk therapy is like, right. I always said I did enough therapy to turn a donkey into a unicorn,
Yep.
but I never got rid of the problem. I became a well-educated neurotic. And that to me, forgive me for saying, for any of my therapy friends, therapists, it's unethical to leave someone in that kind of pain. And I wanted to figure out how to fix it.
Well, it's
Mm.
the trauma therapist I seen because I had seen somebody in Maple Ridge that does EMDR work.
Mhm.
And I think I went for maybe 10 sessions,
Yeah.
maybe eight, 6 sessions, 10, I'm not sure exactly how many. And the first few were like, the first one that I went to, I went on Saturday and Monday morning, I'm driving to work and I'm like, oh my God, what's happening? I can move my neck. Like I'm not,
Oh, nice.
but by session 5 or 6, I'm like, blah.
Oh,
And then I see go to this new trauma therapist a year later or whatever the time frame was. And she did EMDR work too. And she goes, I won't do EMDR on you till we trust each other.
fair. That's
Mm.
what I mean. You have to have
She
rapport.
goes,
You have to
she
be
goes, because
safe.
and she said exactly what I was going to tell her about it working and then it not. And she goes, yeah, but and then she does it in a weird way because she'll do it and you don't even know she's doing it
Right.
and won't let you talk about the trauma because you
Right.
don't need to talk about the
Because you
trauma.
could rewire it in if you keep talking about it.
It was so wired into me that I didn't have a choice but live in it.
I get it.
And
It's like you got programmed to be that way, and then people shame you and attack you and judge you and humiliate you for having the only building blocks you got. And you don't know what you don't know. And if someone doesn't, like when I see people that are struggling, I just go, oh, they don't know. No one showed them. Instead of going, oh, you're stupid and you're ignorant,
yeah,
you're in your defects. I'm like, fuck you. That person has not been developed. This is where the developmentally delayed have some compassion. Ask them if they need help, right?
Yeah,
Or mind
I
your own
agree.
business, whatever.
the only thing defective in our world is the way we treat people.
Yes.
We are not defects. We don't have
No,
defects.
I call them coping strategies, survival strategies. Like I've spent my whole life in some form of fight, flight, fawn, and feign. And when I realized that the back end was fawn and feign, I was furious because I thought I'm still not me.
I haven't heard that term.
Yeah, someone else said that to me too, and I'm working with her daughter, and I said, it's modulating. What do I have to be so you don't hurt me?
Oh,
What do
Uh,
I have to say and be? And it's just
right.
this way of trying to be this very pliable, like, and not standing up and having a spine, but it's like, how do I modulate myself so I'm safe with you?
uh,
Right? It's dishonest, but it's survival strategy.
well,
It was kind of neat when you were talking about the captain and not being responsible. It kind of triggered something with me because I'm in a not in a situation. The last few years, I've been probably once a year. And when I was angry, I understand why friends went away, but this gross spirit. But once every year, there's a friend that just goes away. Not that there's a real big problem. It's maybe two. And then this year, even one of my aunts kind of went. And you know what I realized? I'm
Mm,
not responsible.
no. Well, and this is what you find out about your program is you ask your body, what do you make this mean? And then you'll
I
find out
haven't got there
what
yet.
the wound is underneath.
Yeah.
What does my body make this mean? And most of us, if we've been shamed, I'm bad. There's something wrong with me. And that when you move that out and that's no longer there, then you're just, oh, it's so great. You're gone. That's lovely. But we're usually taught to self-guilt and self-shame.
Yeah.
yeah.
And that to me, when I get into that place, I know I'm not getting some of my needs met. I'm not feeling safe. I'm not feeling comforted. I'm not feeling loved. I'm not feeling heard. I'm not feeling appreciated. But I can't expect the world to give that to me. My responsibility is to say, well, how can I love you today? How can I bring you comfort today?
Yeah,
Right?
exactly.
Yeah.
We're laughing. I got to interrupt here. So the course we met on,
Okay.
the night before we're in silent mode and we're told to write our hopes, dreams, and goals.
Mm,
So mine were about that long.
mm,
because there was no hope, there was no dreams, there
Right.
would be no goals.
It was bleak.
I woke up in the morning and it was, you ripped yourself off again.
Mm.
Put something on that piece of paper that means something. So I put it down. I didn't want a girlfriend. I didn't want a wife. I wanted
Mm.
a partner.
Mm.
And I
Mm.
put a couple other things, and I don't know what they are because at this point it doesn't matter. So, anyways, we're doing a high ropes exercise that day.
Mhm.
So this gentleman, Felipe, he's at the bottom of the ladder and he goes, "So what's one of your goals?" And I'm like, "I want a partner." And he goes, "Well, what are you going to say to her when you wake up?" And I'm like, "I'm going to roll over and say, 'Hey, babe, I love you.'" And
Aw.
he goes, "Why don't you one up that?" And I'm thinking, moron, how can you one up that? That was my exact Neanderthal thought. No mindedness whatsoever. And he goes, "Why don't you roll over and go, 'Hey, babe, how can I love you today?'"
Oh,
And we did that for, I'm going to say it, the first year and a half, and
Yeah.
we still do it fairly,
that
not
is so
nearly as frequent
generous.
as
Yeah.
before. But then this is the cool part. About, I don't know, 4 or 6 months after we started doing it, it was like, I don't know if I fulfilled my commitment today, so I need to ask her. So we started, that was our stage before we went to bed. Did we fulfill our commitment today?
Oh man.
So because I know nothing about loving. I don't. I do today
Yeah. But you were a feral cat.
because I've been taught and I've learned and I've listened. And
Mm.
well, I come from a feral family, so of
Me
course I'm a
too.
feral cat. Like,
Yeah.
and you're right. However, though, how do we know? Like, we don't. What we don't know is ignorance, and that's all it is. And ignorance isn't a bad thing. It's just
Yeah.
that you don't know.
Yeah.
And when
And to
you
learn,
and
to
to
be willing to
learn,
learn. Yeah.
it's like, and that transformed my life, and I know it transformed Lisa's life because it was like
Yeah.
she had to walk through this ugly thing of,
What am I going to
"Am I
say?
gonna love you?"
How can I
He's
ask you
shedding a
to love me?
layer.
We just do stuff. We just do. What do you mean?
Yeah.
Ask him, lad. What? And even the simplest things of saying thank you when
Mm.
someone does something for you
Mhm.
and not, not give excuses. Like I remember when Scott, well, he has the breakfast story, but even just making me a coffee and not saying, oh, I'll get it. It's okay. But just say thank you.
Yeah. Receiving
Receiving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
the.
So I'm not working. I'm living in Calgary in her house,
Mhm.
and we're not married yet. We're still kind of just new dating, and she's going to work every day. And so I'm attempting to get up and make her breakfast every morning before she goes to work
Oh, nice.
with claw marks in
Do
Mm.
that because that's
me.
what
Because you're not
over,
receiving well.
yeah, over 26 years, that's what I learned to do.
And it took till almost June before she was done her school year to be, her sit in the chair and enjoy watching me cook breakfast while she went off to work.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
One of the courses that I have taken on deepening one's self-love, one of the biggest pieces is like constantly reconnecting with self. And I'm really proud of you. You're doing a good job. I'm sorry that you're scared or sad. I'm here for you. And you really let that body have that message that you're safe because there's parts of each one of us at different ages that are frozen for sure. But she was really clear about, and that helps to integrate that wounded part that's never been seen, heard, valued, wanted, appreciated, anything. And but she was like, the most important thing that we can do is learn to do what brings us joy.
Yeah.
Not this joy, but this joy. The body goes, oh yeah, woo! Like you play with a pet, or you guys tickle, or you do whatever you do, um, and that from there you also, this is, I don't know why I'm getting a gap right now. What brings us joy and to receive.
Mm.
You cannot be healthy if you can't receive. It's not possible. You can't love if you can't receive, and you can't give love if you can't receive. Otherwise, it's mechanical. It's like, could you get some fucking oil for that thing? It's not smooth and natural.
Yeah.
because there's fear loaded into the tissue. And the minute that fear has been released, the person now comes back to their natural, healthy, original settings.
Yeah.
So, what brings me joy? What brings you joy? I remember I taught these fitness dance classes for a long time, and I was doing it more as a giving back to the community because I'm, single mom most of my life here, and I have a business that's service provided. I paid for my house, all the rest of it was my way of saying thank you. And then one day I asked my body, not my brain, because my brain would have had me doing it until I'm 70, telling me that I'll stay younger if I do this. So I placed one hand on my chest, one hand on my belly, and it says, does teaching this class, this program give you joy? And I was like, what? It was like my body was real clear, and it was like putting on a wet, cold, large bathing suit. It was just this revulsion. And if I would have stayed listening to my head, I would have talked myself into it, with that, you got that, that tight smile, but you're not really happy because you feel like a circus bear that you're just doing it. And so then I told the girls, I said, I'm not going to teach for about 3 weeks and I will. And then I went back, waited 3 weeks, asked again, same. And I talked to the head instructor and I said, I will give you this. I will give you this franchise. If you don't want it, then the other one's going to get the option. And if that doesn't happen, I said, it's going to die because I'm not doing it anymore. And she took it. And I was so relieved because I had been teaching these fitness classes in the morning since my son was a baby. How many and evenings I didn't have dinners with my son. Like I was always running. That's the anxious preoccupied. I'm staying busy. I'm looking after you. I know what you want. I'm good. I'm good. You're good. You're good. I'm okay. I have some value because you look like you're happy, but I'm miserable inside. That's the anxious preoccupied energy, right? As I got stronger and healthier, I'm like, I'm not doing that to myself ever again.
Yeah.
But that's the example of that. And so learning to ask what brings me joy. And that's one of the ways that I've become more aware of considering my own needs. And I've also met people and I check. And if I get this, whoa, yes. Anything other than that, and it's a no. It's like no. Before I wouldn't have the capacity to notice.
Yeah.
I wouldn't know. I would just go, oh, I'm fawning and fainting. Does it make you happy? Would you like a donut? Would you like some coffee? Well, how about a tea? Right? When inside, I just want to lay down and be alone.
Yeah.
One's dishonest, but it's a trauma response.
Yes.
Please don't leave me. That's a trauma response. If I do this, you won't leave me. I spent my whole life doing that. And then to finally get honest, and I was like, wow, what a shock.
And what I love, like we've talked mostly about people
Mhm.
who've done the hypnotherapy, or even ourselves, who are yourself as well, Germana, who's written a book. We're all older,
Yes.
and that saying, you can't teach a dog new tricks, but you can. We can do different things, and I know Scott's talked about this before. Like you can have the negative effect and the snowball effect of negativity, but you can also have the positivity snowball effect and more positive things and more growth, and you become more resilient. So you can be open to more opportunities, more people, more
Love.
things, more love, all those things. Yeah.
And I think we are here to love. And when we've been taught that love is scary and that we're not good enough to be loved or there's something wrong with us, we can't receive it.
Yeah.
So therefore it doesn't grow in our garden. It's just, the boogeyman over here and Freddy Krueger's over there and right. But that stuff's wired into our child, that inner child. And so that's the part that needs to be loved back to health.
Yes. And it's never too late, I think.
Never, because you are secure and he would have showed up not secure.
Oh, 100%.
That's the example.
Yeah, and one of the big attractors that I've talked about in my book as well is that when we were at the course, it was the fact that he was so vulnerable,
Oh,
and quite literally no other men in that group of however many people it was, 70, or were as vulnerable, open, willing, like to give it all. Here it is on a plate. Like what, no hold barred, no hold back, nothing. And I thought that was,
attractive.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm ready to heal. I'm ready to be real. I'm not hiding anymore.
Where can people get your book? Where can people get a hold of you? For those people who are listening on audio, but all of this will be in the description.
Yeah. The book is on Amazon. It's called The Journey of Transformation, Healing Generational Trauma. And they can reach me through my website or my email, which is germana.ca. My website is ablebodyconsulting.com. And my phone number is 250-714-4369
Perfect.
Pacific Standard
Perfect.
Time. And I really have enjoyed this conversation. It's been
Husband is
Yes.
excellent.
because
Yes.
I know you and I've watched you guys grow together, and I'm like, that is so amazing.
We're very lucky that we get to have this platform, that we've
Yeah.
created this platform to meet amazing people and share other people's amazing stories as well. And I think we need to celebrate with a happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. And happy anniversary to you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And with that, we'll say thank you very much, Germana.